Video is about functions and graphs. Before I go on the graphing part of things, I want to talk about what functions are. Quick review, if you will. So functions are, you can think of them as a machine that does one thing, whatever that thing is that you set it to be. So let's say, and by the way, functions are, you can, the way you know it's a function is when it's, well, pretty much everything's a function if it has a variable in it, but we call functions by, we use this to label them. We use something like this or this, or you can use any letter, and then you just have whatever variable. It doesn't have to be x even. It could be t, it could be z, it could be blah blah blah, whatever. And you have something like this, or let's say 1 over x. Okay, these are functions. And all this means is, for over here on this x, for these guys, we can plug in. Well, I can set restrictions, but I'm just not going to restrict any restrictions. I mean, this one over here technically has a restriction. You can't plug in a zero for x because that doesn't exist. So that's the only restriction there is. So I'm just going to write that for this guy right here. So if I were to replace a one, so if I was to write f of one, I would replace this with a 1. Square it, which is just 1. If I did f, put in a 2 for it, I would replace all the x values, if I had any more. Right here I just have 1, but I replace all the x values with the 2. That's 4. Right? Same thing over here. If I plugged in a 3, it would be 3 plus 1. I just replaced the x value with the 3. It's 4. And over here, if I plugged in a 1, let's say, so h of 1, and you would say f of 1, f of 3, f of h of 1, f of x, f of g, f of blah, 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 whatever. So you say f of whatever's inside. And this would just be 1 over 1, which is 1. So that's what functions are. They're like, this is like a machine that does exponentiation, x squared, right? All right, whatever number you put in here, you're just going to add a 1 to it every time because that's what the function tells you to do. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Now we can, just gonna put this. We can graph them to make a line with some functions. Most functions, if not all functions. Pretty much every function can be graphed if you have the patience for it. So the little arrows I drew, I didn't draw them in my last graph video, but the arrows on any line just mean it goes on for infinity. And for functions, they go on for infinity unless you set restrictions for them. Like you can only do from this number to this number. But I won't do that for this video. So let's say we had the function x squared. And let's do g of x. Let's just leave it as x. Okay. So we're gonna do f of x first. So basically, when we want to plot, we want to draw a line that represents this function on a graph. And the way you do this, well, you just start plugging in some numbers so you can get a general form of it. So let's do the easiest numbers first. So we're gonna do 0 squared first, which is just 0. So you're gonna plot that point right here. Okay, 0, 0. Let's plug in a 1. So 1 squared is just 1. So we got a 1 here, 1 here. So the point is going to be like right here, the next one. Let's say I want to plug in 2. Right? You would get a value of 2 squared is 4. So it's going to be the next point is going to be somewhere over here. If we plug in a 3, we would need to do 3 squared, which is 9. To 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it goes something like this. We can also plug in negative numbers. So you did -1, it'd be the same as, no, -1 squared is just 1. And another thing I forgot to mention is that our y values are the dependent variable, which means whatever x is, it's going to spit out an answer, and that answer is y. And that's important in a moment that I will explain. So if we did a 2, it would be 1, 2, 3. It'd be the same as this. So it'd be like 4, right? And now I could do it up here. So I'm just gonna estimate here. It's probably not exact, but that's what it is. And you can draw a line between them. It won't be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. And now this. Now you got something like this. Now this is, we graph the function of x squared. The little arrows just mean it goes on for infinity. And why this is useful is because if you don't like doing math and you are able to use a calculator that has a graphing feature on it, like a graphing calculator, you can sort of kind of cheat because you can just plug in the function into the calculator and the line will tell you what the answer is. So let's say I didn't know how to do x squared. Let's say I didn't know how to do exponents, right? And I was just given this line. So the numbers that we're plugging in are x, right? For our x are on this line, right? So we're plugging in these numbers. So I plugged in 1 for in the function, right? And I got out the answer of 1, right? So our y's are our answers and our x's are the things we're putting into the function. So if I knew nothing about exponents, like if I didn't know how to do them, and I was just told that the x line is the numbers I can put in, and the y line is the answer for that number. I just have to see what numbers line up. So if I didn't know, I would just look at this. This is a 2, right? 2. I want to know what x squared is. I mean, what is 2 squared, right? I don't know what it is. So we're just going to find the x value of 2, right? Which is here, right? That's where we're plugging in for x. We're squaring it. We don't know what that is. So we're just going to look at the line. And this is where the point touches the line, right? This is our answer. So we see it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Not very accurate there. So we know based on the line that where the point meets, touches the line basically, that our answer is 4. And that's what graphs are for. It shows you all the values of the numbers you can plug in, all the values, and see what kind of pattern they make. And this is the general form for exponents of x squared. So something like this function is going to look very similar to this. It's going to have this general form that looks very similar. It won't look exactly the same, but this is the general form of it. And something like an x, when there's nothing, no exponents, no numbers in front of it. Well, there could be a number in front of it. It just changes how steep it is. But something like this is just a straight line, right? It's not a perfect straight line here, but because if I just put x is 1, well, the answer would just be 1, right? If I put in a 2 for x, well, the answer would just be 2, right? And that's why graphing lines is very useful. It lets you find the answer a lot quicker. And yeah, that's about it.